Hi, I'm Felicity LaRouge from Phenomenal People, and this is Conversations with Leaders. My guest today is Marina Conway-Gordon, who is a content coach who helps people be more visible online. Welcome, Marina. It's so nice to see you. It's been ages since we've caught up, but thank you so much. Hi. So would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what a content coach is, what you do, and a little bit about your journey to date? What's brought you to this place in your life, in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. So I'm Marina, and I'm a content coach, which actually is a term I only just really put out there because I sort of had to realize that that's actually exactly what I'm doing, is coaching people on the content that they put out there. The purpose of that is to really make sure that people can get the most of social media at the moment. Mm-hmm. We probably don't need to tell you that it's very noisy at the moment. We are all online, and everybody is kind of scrabbling to keep things going. It's a tough time. And so I help people to be putting out content that is authentic to them, that has a real message that resonates with their audience, and so that they can stay connected with their communities, and also in a way that feels right to them. So not just putting out a load of content and hammering away at it. It's more about seeing what's right for them, and helping them to do that in a way that's manageable. Things are busy at the moment, aren't they? So yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons that I asked you to come on the Conversations with Leaders today is one of the posts that you put on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, and it was genuine people are so unsure of themselves and the disingenuous so confident. And I love what you do because you're supporting people, as you say, to be authentic and to have that voice, because it's people that are genuine and that have something that they want to bring and really bring value to their potential customers that need that voice, isn't it? Because there's a lot of noise, as you've just said. So
completely, yeah. This is what I really found. I mean, in the last couple of years, I've worked with brands, with sort of small businesses. But I really realized this year that the people that really needed the help were the brand leaders. We're all being asked to be more present, more visible. People want to know about us. They want to know our values. They want to know our strategy, because they want to be able to choose whether we're right for them. Whether it's a product or a service is neither here nor there. It's actually about the people now. And so suddenly business leaders, brand owners, we're all forced into the limelight in a way that many of us are uncomfortable with and struggle with. And even those of us who have done a bit of, exposure, maybe done some videos, maybe done a couple of podcasts, things can come up in this process and really create blocks to doing this stuff. And my role and what I want to really help people with is to overcome those blocks, to be able to find themselves online in a way that feels like, I keep saying it because it's so true. It's got to feel right. It's got to feel right for the person and authentic, so that they will want to carry on doing it, and so that they will see the results that they really want. That's the thing. But yeah, it's a huge struggle, for many of us, and we need to sort of help each other with this, especially at the moment.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you've said that, because one of the things I do for a living, I train, so I'm comfortable at speaking on camera. I'm comfortable, but I think there's that part of me that I really work hard to put value out rather than just chatting. And not that it's great to be authentic, but is this worthwhile if people are going to give their time and energy to watching anything I've put out? But I think there's that kind of fatigue of feeling like, am I just hustling to compete? And I think it has to be really genuine and authentic, doesn't it? Otherwise it's just like, it's going to be very easy to think, I just can't do this, I just don't need to do this, but it's so important right now that we do have a visible presence.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've touched on something really, really important there, because I think people don't want to hustle too much. Like you said, they don't want to be, and they know that that isn't right, but they might not know what else to really do or talk about. You know, we all get stuck in this kind of bubble of, you know, benefits of our services, or, you know, what we offer to the world. And obviously it's important to talk about that. How would we make a sale if we don't? But I think the thing is, what we're all looking for really at the moment is connection. Connection will lead us to a relationship, to a rapport, and to sales, obviously, but maybe to collaboration, maybe to community, maybe to creativity. Who knows what else is there? So this is what people are really looking for, is much more holistic connections online. We don't, you know, we're so saturated with content all the time. And of course, at the moment, you know, and I say this with complete compassion, I'm also in this group, you know, we're all trying to keep our businesses going as well. So we need to talk about it, but there are other things to talk about. But then people get stuck. They kind of go, well, what else should I be talking about? And maybe even, do I have a right to talk about those things? You know, what if it's just, you know, really irrelevant? How much should I put myself in this content? How much should I be part of the story? So these are all questions that come up, and a lot of us will go, that all sounds really unclear and scary. I'm just going to carry on doing what I was doing before.
Yes.
Yeah, and like try to, you know, and just hope that that works. And then of course they find that, you know, maybe it doesn't. So yeah, it's challenging, sure.
And I think there's a part of it as well about, and I'm going to ask you some of the challenges in your leadership journey in a minute. But I think also, you know, putting out this content. We've just been laughing about my 30-day challenge, and I was like, oh, how hard could it be? 3 minutes a day. And into day 7, I was like, oh my God, I want to quit. But of course I can't, because it's my challenge. But there is that thing as well, is like, you feel like you're putting out a video. Okay, Facebook Live, you can see when people are jumping on all the live channels and when they're not. But sometimes you feel like you're doing bad stand-up, don't you? You're like getting nothing. You feel like you're getting nothing back, particularly in the beginning. And it's like, is it really worth it? But I think part of it is being continuity, consistency. You've just got to keep going until you get traction as well, haven't you?
Absolutely. And in my experience, it's through doing that we really get to the good stuff. So we might have some great ideas initially, and we might get a group together, and you know, we might have an ideas tank. You know, lots of people have used these kind of tools to do content. But actually, beyond that, when we've started to do something, it's almost like creating a piece of art, really. Like, you start as one thing and you have an intention for it, but it could go anywhere, really. And you start to be in this game with the a joyful game, I should say, with your audience, whereby they start to feedback and give you another idea, and you go, oh, actually that's really interesting, I'll do a piece on that. And so it carries on going, and that is the way that we really engage with people. So I hear you on the sort of, you've got to break past that really awkward initial few stages where you don't really know whether these ideas are going to fly. You know, it all seems a bit quiet, but then we get into a swing of it, and also confidence can grow from there as well. If we're not doing it, we won't get more confident at it. It really is a riding a bike situation. You know, you have to do it in order to ride a bike. You can't read about riding a bike, riding a bike even.
And I found for myself with that, when I got past the pain threshold at day 7, I actually started to really get into the flow with it. The ideas started to flow more, and I actually started to enjoy it. I mean, I will obviously, you know, you look at yourself and you're a worst critic, I think, sometimes, aren't you? But it does gain momentum, doesn't it? So it's worth sticking with it, isn't it? I mean, with our, you know, our world is all very much about, you know, so much choice. Oh, well, I'll try that. Well, if it doesn't work, I'll try that. Sometimes we just have to stick with things for a little while, don't we? Rather than just jumping about too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the jumping about doesn't really help our audience connect with us that much either. I was just thinking about this morning with a client, actually, and because she has so many different things going on. She does a lot of different speaking. She has a few different audiences already. This is the thing. So it's almost like, well, how do we still do some focused content though that gets that value across to that audience? And so that's something that we're kind of doing now, because otherwise it can become a bit noisy, and we know that it's a bit noisy, but we don't know what else to do. So we're like, okay, I'll, and then time comes in, and we're like, well, we don't really have time to sort of think this through too much today. I've just got to, go for it. So it can quickly become quite overwhelming really for people,
I think that's why it can be so valuable to have a coach, in all kinds of areas, but particularly this, because it is unknown, isn't it? It's an unknown territory for many of us. And as you say, you go out there and you're doing the best you can, but you might be running east looking for a sunset and you don't know. And it's why it's good to have someone to come and support. So yes, very, very valuable, I think, what you're doing. So Marina, tell us a little bit about some of your highs and lows in your own journey. Start with the lows and then we can get to the highs, which is always a nice place to move.
Start with the lows. There's plenty of those. Until this year, it was really funny because people say, oh gosh, 2020. Actually, I had a really bad year last year. I had some really chronic back pain that seemed to come out of nowhere and lasted for a long, long time, and was completely debilitating. And I, really took me to a difficult place. And the reason why I'm saying this is because obviously, like, during that time when you're building a business, and I was still building this business at the time, I was still refining the message and things. It just seemed like the worst time for this to be happening. I was like, I really was like, I've got these things to do. I've got to, build this. I've got to workshops. I've got, and so the conflict within myself and obviously within my body last year was just so strong, because it was like my body was saying, stop, think, don't do. And my head was going, but look at all these ideas and things we could do. So that was a really tough year. And I had to learn really that, like, it was okay to take time with things. As a creative type person, I can tend to like jump on an idea and I'm like, I want it done now, and I can see how it's going to be, and it's going to be amazing, and we're going to get this person involved, but and very quickly it can just snowball into something quite unmanageable. So I think my body was teaching me last year that to take my time, to listen, and to let the vision for something come to fruition naturally, and that's what's happened this year. And so when people say, oh god, 2020 was awful, actually I've had a better year this year, because I've had a chance to be clear about it, and I've sort of stepped into a real place of being able to be of service, whereas last year I just couldn't I couldn't be of service to people really, or I felt that I couldn't anyway. So it was tough. I'd say that was a low point, but much learned. And for anybody who's had back pain who's listening to this, I know you get it. It's or a pain in the neck. There's the reason why they call it that. It's debilitating. I mean, other lows. I would say the biggest challenge that I always face is overloading myself with too many ideas.
Right.
And rather than kind of going, I'm going to do one thing at a time, I tend to try to get everything done at once, which, as we know, is very difficult. And so, for me, it's kind of like taking a step back, and when my brain's going with all the ideas, that's great. I'm going to write those down and let them sit, let them percolate for a while. They don't all need to be done today. That's probably my challenge. Do you find the same thing?
Well, I've always been quite good at not overloading myself, and possibly more the other way around. But I think part of it, and a lot of the work I do is in around communication, behavioural stuff, behavioural patterns, is understanding that we're largely addicted to the busyness, whether we want to be or not. There's just so much pressure in society, isn't it? You've got to do all these, and even worse as an entrepreneur, you're trying to run a successful business, build your business, reach clients. And it's that whole, oh my God, I used to find I was doing 12-hour days, and then I'd check and I hadn't had a day off for weeks. And I wasn't actually very productive in those 12-hour days. I was just busy. And I think one of the, there are gifts in that have happened in the pandemic, isn't it? I think that for a lot of us, it's being able to step back, reset, and look at what's going on. And I realized I was just this busyness. I had to be doing this, had to be doing that, had to be doing. And just as you said with the content, sometimes I knew I was just doing stuff because if I didn't, by the end of the day, I might feel a bit guilty. But I actually knew I wasn't in the best headspace to be doing it because I hadn't given it time, as you said, to settle and grow roots, or become clear, is that what I wanted to do, is that going to add value? But I've found these last couple of months, it's really helped me to be much more discerning. And when I listen to my inner compass that's like, stop, it's all right to have times of stillness. And I think we feel quite guilty about that sometimes, but that's where the creativity comes out. I mean, even Einstein, who was a scientist, he used to say he got a lot of his revelations when he was walking in nature. So, yeah. But yes, we have to be really aware of those patterns of behavior and think, actually, is this pattern running me, or is it serving me? And I think it's about that, being clear around that. So what about your highs? Now, you said you've really been able to serve people this year, and I think that's always so worthwhile and fulfilling, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's being able to serve people, but also that was also in a way that's right for me. I think until kind of the end of last year, I hadn't really got to that kernel of truth about what I wanted to help, like how I wanted to help those, my community, or maybe even the world, what the things that I wanted to put out there. I think I was still dancing around with a bit of I should, I should be doing this and this will be useful, therefore I'll do it. And I just kind of hadn't been 100% honest with myself this year. And yeah, I think you're right. I think with COVID has really helped with this as well, like discerning. And because energy management is suddenly really in the forefront, people are finding that they have fatigue and, things that are going on that they didn't have before. It's like we're in a different place with our bodies, with our minds. How much we interact with people is very different, how much screen time we have, this kind of thing. So I feel like I've just been able to really be very clear about how I can help people this year. Obviously it helps that the business I was building is online. I'm grateful for that. I really am. I know a lot of people are struggling at the moment with this if their businesses are not online. But it's given me a chance to kind of really, I guess, highlight those issues that we have in being online and being ourselves online and being real online. And so one of the highs was kind of really, really understanding the name of my brand, which is The Real Life of Brands. It's like, what is it we are trying to, who are we really, and how are we trying to change the world? And that felt so much more true to me this year. So that was a high, is just getting that clarity. I think another one was, I've just started a live series on Instagram every Tuesday called How to Be Real Online. And I thought originally, I think I was going to have just discussions and interviews and things, but I thought, actually, let's just address these problems that we have with being online. Like each week, let's just talk about a different one that is bothering us, that is blocking us, that is making us feel less than, when we're online, and let's just talk about them. And that's been, I love doing it. It's great. We have very honest discussions about it. So that's a real high as well. Otherwise I know highs this year, there are a few. I wouldn't say there's that many fun highs. It's in like really fun, but as I think, and you mentioned earlier, like we're much more connected with each other, just in a different way. So I've got deeper connections this year with people than I've had before. And a sense of clarity, and I think a lot of people share this, like a sense of clarity around what I need to be doing and what I don't need to be doing, you know, and that's actually really useful. Super useful. Yeah.
Yeah, particularly running up, because it is, isn't it? You know, when you're running your own business and, you know, something else comes on your radar and you're like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Oh, I could put my energy in there. And then you think, actually, am I just trying to chasing a magic bullet? So to
Yeah.
become clear on who you are and what you're about is a great place to be, isn't it? So, do you have any kind of practices that keep you focused, keep you on track? What do you do? You know, you go walking in nature, you make sure you get outdoors every day, that kind of thing.
I have quite a few, and they've grown in COVID as well, or 2020. Yeah, being in nature. Although my business is online, I do need to be mindful of how many hours are spent on screens. Double screening, like really avoiding that. Right. Phone to computer to phone to, you know, to TV. Yeah, I've come up against that this year, just in terms of like just generally being a bit distracted by all of the online noise. So the way I combat that is to, I live right by park, right by Victoria Park in London, and I'll just go straight out the doors, and within 2 minutes of being in the park, I'm back on track. Yeah, it's literally like, it's very, very fast now, and I make sure I get out for about an hour a day, if not more. And I just walk around the park, and I quite like this kind of weather, actually. Like the rain and the wind is not a problem for me. I quite like it. Otherwise, I mean, meditation, I do various different meditations. I've got some that are on SoundCloud and some that are on Insight Timer, which is a great app if anybody wants to check it out. Yoga Nidra is a good one for just coming back to your body, especially if you've been up in your head all day and looking at screens. What else? I mean, I think I was talking to someone recently about how important it is to watch something kind of crappy on TV, you know, like not crappy, but just, you know what I mean? Like just something that does not demand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't demand, you know, a lot of thinking. And I found a few things. I won't say what they are because I don't want people to think that I'm saying that they're crap. But just
pleasures. Yeah.
Very exactly, guilty pleasures. That's exactly the way to put it. And you know, something transporting, you know, and sometimes that can just be 10 minutes of something funny on YouTube can really break up the kind of drive, because it, you know, it does get a bit Groundhog Day at the moment. You know, we have a routine and we try to look after ourselves as business owners, but yeah, sometimes it can be a bit heavy, so we've got to lighten the mood a bit, I think.
No, I think that's so important. We can get really in fact, I met someone fairly recently, she's great, and we'd gone out for a lunch, like a business social lunch, and she said, oh, you're really quite intense. And I was like, oh my God, that's I don't want to be thought of as the intense person, and I realized, you know, I had been it was just after we came out of lockdown, so yeah, I'm a big thinker anyway, and I'd been at home on my own with my thoughts, and it probably all came vomiting out. So yes, I think we absolutely need to play, and that really taps us into our creativity as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I've really realized in lockdown, or just during this period, that it doesn't have to be grand gestures of otherness in my life. Like I don't need to kind of go, and on the side I'm creating some art, because I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to create something massive alongside this. And I think actually for me what works is just the little bits of time dedicated to something else, something funny, something unexpected. You know, I mean, we don't have much serendipity. Everything is very planned at the moment because obviously we need to think about it in advance. But even just calling someone I've not called for ages and having a chat with them and seeing how they're doing, just little actions really work for me at the moment. Because it's overwhelming, everything, you know, it's a lot to think about and manage. And I know we're all in the same boat, so we might be like, well, we're on the same boat, you know, don't worry about it, we don't need to talk about it. But I think everybody's struggling in their own unique way, you know. So.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? And now a few months into it, you know, people, oh, we should be used to it. Well, actually, everybody's different. We're all coping with it in different ways. Some people have more fear around the whole situation than others. I mean, some people, you know, it's just our personality types, isn't it? And just to respect that and be supportive. You know, even if you think, actually, I don't get that, I don't get your kind of perspective, but still be supportive. And you used the word earlier, which is a really big word for me, you know, anyway, but particularly during pandemic, is compassion. You know, just be kind to people. Everyone's different. Everyone's coping with it differently. Just, you know, if we can be kind to people and support them rather than, well, that's my opinion and yours is wrong, is just, that's not helping, is it? It's just adding to our stress. So yeah. So what would you like to see come out of the pandemic, this brave new world, which is potential, isn't there? There's potential for some really good things to come out of this pandemic if the people, the genuine people, are able to find their voice and be confident enough to have, you know, and one of my major focuses at the moment is being able to have the difficult conversations. And, you know, I'm kind of thinking of reframing it as courageous conversations, because difficult conversations can scare people, but we need to be able to have the courage, don't we, to talk about the things that we could change right now, because it's a real pivot point, isn't it? What would you like to see?
Yeah, I think this time has, you know, on top of the kind of pressure to be more visible and be out there in order to kind of stand out as a business, we also, there's a lot going on in the world, and it's asking us to declare what we stand for, I think. I won't bother to go into what all those things are. I think we know across the board how many different things there are, but that's kind of really pushing us as well to think about what our values are. And how that relates back to business is that they're like, who do we want to work with? I think so many of us have been like, well, if they want the service and I can do it, off we go. What else do I need to know? But I think that's changed now. And I think this is a good thing, because ultimately, doesn't it bring us more joy to work with the people who we can really help them, so they're best placed to be helped by us, but also there's a connection there. Perhaps we're on the same wavelength about something. We don't have to be best buddies, but maybe there's something there that we can connect with on a deeper level, and it all becomes more memorable and more exciting, more fulfilling. And I think that can only be a good thing. And that's what I've experienced as connection online grows. I'm really excited about, which my clients are like, glad you're excited about it. Because they're the ones having to take some scary action that I give them. But you know, it's so exciting to see their confidence grow, and to see them, it's not even just like an aha moment. I think when they get in touch with an internal truth about something, and they realize how passionate they are about that subject, and they go, oh my God, I do want to talk about this. I didn't know I could talk about this online. I didn't know I could talk about it as me, and I didn't know I could talk about it with my brand. And the world this year has said, yes, you can. Like, in fact, not only yes, you can, please do. Like, we want to know what brands stand for. We want to know the values that people have. We want to know their stories. We want to know how they're managing their team. You know, there's so many things out there. There's really so many things you could share that are still, you know, that's still right for you, not forcing yourself to be, you know, over vulnerable or anything like that, but just, there's so many things that we could be sharing. And that's really exciting to me. And I think people are coming forward with that. And some of them are going, you know what, I've thought about this for so long. It's just, this year has forced my hand to kind of go, right, am I going to do this? Come on, like, I've got to get out of my comfort zone, because I've been thinking about this for ages, and now's the time. The other thing that I just want to say, there's a real positive from COVID, is that in lockdown, what we were seeing was you know, TV news anchors doing everything from their homes, you know, like they might have had their clothes, the same clothes on and the makeup, and then they might have done their hair and everything, but really they were just in a home situation. And that has changed the way we view acceptable production of content. You know, like if a news anchor for the BBC can do a phone thing looking up their nostrils mostly,
yeah,
you know, then I can release a video about, you know, one of the challenges that, you know, I see my clients facing. It's like, I don't have an excuse anymore to be like, oh, well, I don't have a studio and I haven't got lights and I haven't got this and I don't have a director. And now it's like, it's completely acceptable as a brand to pick up your phone and to just start talking to camera. It's absolutely acceptable. And that I think I think has helped a lot of businesses to go, oh, sod it, let's do it. You know, if they can do it over there and they are, you know, professional brand, then I can do it too. And even, you know, SNL comedy show, they were doing things and they were like, oh, what is this going to come along across? Like, we have none of our props off, you know, they have this massive studio they work in. They've got none of that. But then, you know, the comedy comes through because they're funny, you know, it's like, so yeah, it's just a good reminder this year that we are the value. You know, it's not all of this extra periphery. Although, you know, if you want to and want to have that or feel that you need to have it, I'm not saying that you don't, you know, do whatever you want to do. But yeah, you don't. I will value you as much just doing it, you know, your way, basically. So yeah,
very nice. And I think I'm so glad we did this interview, Marina. I think it's so hopeful for people because, you know, I'm kind of the philosophy of, believe it or not, despite, you know, the outward signs at the moment, that there is abundance. There's always been abundance in the world. You just have to kind of find it, look for it, and things are different, but the abundance is still there. It's just kind of in a different, maybe it looks different. So it's about how we kind of tune into that. And there's enough to go around for everybody. And I think one of the things that we're thinking about, I mean, I'm fortunate, I live in Margate, and there's a lot of people that have come down, a lot of, as we call them, DFLs down from London's, which I am as well, for a better life, you know, have that work-life balance. But people have come down to create the lives that they couldn't afford to create in London. And there's a great sense of community, people wanting to do things that make a difference in the community, want to, you know, and it's a very inspiring environment. But, you know, we've all got the opportunity wherever we are to think, how can I do things differently? How can I, and I've loved what you've said about being collaborative and community, because I think that's very much the way forward. And how I see leadership, it's very much about, you know, being the change we want to see in the world, demonstrating the values of a leader. It doesn't mean you have to have a CEO position or a title or anything. And you know, if you're a mum, you're the female head of the family, aren't you? You know, things like that. And it's understanding that and understanding that we can have influence right here, right now. And actually, if you have a cause that you're passionate about, whether it's your business or whether it's a side interest, if you're passionate about it and nobody else is doing it, then maybe it's for you to step into that leadership role and contribute. So thank you. What's the legacy then that you would like to leave? Not that you're going anywhere for a long, long time, but
trying to go to Turkey on Sunday. I have no idea whether that's going to happen. Actually, it's made new rules. But anyway, yeah, what legacy? I think, you know, the thing about being able to be ourselves, I spent a long time, many years really, trying on different people that weren't Marina. And, you know, compassionate to myself, I think we all do that to a certain extent. You know, I think, you know, in my 20s, that was definitely a thing. But like, I think the day had to come when it was just like, I'm just going to settle on who I really am. And I would love to impart some sort of experience to other people about that, and help them to do the same. Yeah, I think, you know, life gets a lot richer when we're in a place of you know, being aligned with ourselves, being, you know, and kind of owning that, you know, expressing it is always a challenge, I think, for people. But step one in all of this would just be to own who we really are, and, you know, allow ourselves to explore that. So I would love it if that was something I kind of was able to help people with. Yeah.
Wonderful.
You know. Yeah.
That's a great legacy. That's a great legacy to leave. So I'm going to wrap up shortly. So how can we find you? How can people that are watching the interview, where can we find you on Instagram? And
Yeah, probably best to find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. So on Instagram, I am at Marina Conway-Gordon, and LinkedIn is the same, Marina Conway-Gordon. So Instagram, you'll find, more of the live stuff and a bit more of my life probably. On LinkedIn, I try to get into those like juicy conversations in LinkedIn though, and I'm planning on doing some very bold content coming up. So we'll see how.
You should look forward to that.
See how people disconnect. No, I'm kidding. It'll be fine.
They're not your tribe, are they? And I think that's, you know, I think part of owning who you are is having the courage, and not even just courage. It's not like I'm going to be this person and tough if you don't like it, but it's like, this is who I am, and I might not be a fit for everybody, but that's fine. You know, no,
Yep.
you know, no bad feelings. Just one size just doesn't fit all, does it?
Exactly.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Marina. I've really enjoyed the interview, and I'm sure that people watching will enjoy it too. So thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to connecting with you again sometime, somewhere soon, I hope.
Absolutely. Thanks, Felicity.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.